Well, welcome everyone. Today I have Lori Hawkins and Carrie Porter from the Porter Hawkins Group here in the Charlotte area. They're both realtors, but more importantly for today, they are both certified divorce real estate experts, which we're going to discuss in a lot more detail today. So Lori and Karyn, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having
Hi.
Well, can you share a little bit about kind of what made you decide to specialize in helping divorcing spouses with your real estate needs?
So Lori and I had both done divorce real estate before we actually started in the program. But for me, it was really watching my brothers go through these terrible divorces. And it finally came down to the real estate and realized that they weren't getting necessarily great counsel on that. And then I was seeing girlfriends go through that. And then experiencing handling divorce real estate. Luckily, everything went really well, but you don't know what you don't know at the time. And Lori can share a little bit about her story with you and how she got involved in it.
Yeah, I actually went through a divorce and I wound up getting the house in the divorce, but there wasn't good counsel. I mean, a traditional realtor knows real estate, but divorce throws a whole different wrench into the process. So when we found out about the CDRE designate or certification, it was something that interested Karyn and I both.
Walk us through what that means. So, like, a lot of people don't fully grasp kind of what a certified divorce real estate expert is. So, how does that differ from your typical realtor?
Okay, so basically, what a CDRE is, we're a neutral third party. So we only work with the sale of the home to maintain our neutrality. If either one of the spouses want us to help them buy a home, we don't do that. We can refer them to a realtor if they want us to, or they can, use their own realtor. But we work with family law attorneys to make sure that court orders are carried out. We are trained as a CDRE and have systems and procedures in place that just help the whole process to run smoother for the attorneys and the clients that are selling the home.
Karen, anything you wanted to add on that?
No, I think she did a great job. That's pretty much what we do. We only handle the sale. We don't handle either client to help them buy because, again, that affects our neutrality. If someone thinks we're spending more time with one person than the other. So we just want to make sure they understand that we're there for both of them and to represent both of their best interests.
When do you typically like to get involved in the process?
As early as possible. We can actually help advise how to structure a separation agreement that benefits both clients, because the real estate market changes so quickly. And especially right now, it was different 3 weeks ago than what it is today. And we're not in the same market where things were selling in 12 hours. The average days on the market right now is about 21 days. And so when you start putting specific timeframes in place, then sometimes that's not in the client's best interest. So the earlier we know about it, the better we are. We also do CMAs for mediation. We have a lot of attorneys that will reach out to us and say, can you give us a CMA? Because, one party usually brings in the tax records, which is not correct. And the other one brings in an iBuyer, Zillow, Redfin, that kind of thing. But you need a local expert really to get an accurate price, because we know changing from one side of the street to the other or even blocks makes a difference. What's the school zoning? There's all kinds of things that go into it that affect the pricing of the home. So the earlier, the better.
Obviously, the CMA is a big one as well, just to figure out the value of the house that they're trying to sell. But what other types of different tools or tips or techniques are you implementing to help the divorcing spouses on the front end, before the divorce is finalized?
There's so many things. I mean, we do everything that a traditional realtor would do. We go in and we do the walkthroughs initially, and we can either bring a stager in, but we just help them to know what they need to do. Now, one big difference most of the time when divorce is part of this, there are usually money issues because getting divorced is expensive. So we may go into a home that is not a divorce as a traditional realtor and tell them, oh, if you tear out the cabinets, if you do a renovation, if you do this, the rate of return on this is going to be great. That is a different mindset. You know, Karyn and I say all the time that we're meeting the greatest people at the worst times of their life. And we have to take that into effect. So the advice that we give as a CDRE to our clients is different than a traditional realtor is giving. And one important thing is to note is that we are not just negotiating with a potential buyer. We are also negotiating between the two spouses because most of the time these spouses are not even talking to each other. So that's one thing, having specific systems and procedures in place that we do as a CDRE. Every divorce is handled the same way as far as the paperwork part, as far as the procedures. Every house is different and different things that have to be done. But as far as going through the system and procedures, they are the same for every case that we get. And it just helps things to go so much smoother and puts less stress on the divorcing spouses.
Are you typically finding yourself getting involved from the attorney? Are they usually the ones bringing you in, or is it some other third party, or is it actually the divorcing spouses that are usually bringing you into the process?
So interestingly enough, traditionally, it's usually an attorney. It's a family law attorney that has brought us in. But what we're finding now is we get people that hear about us that realize they kind of need somebody that's going to make this situation not as stressful and knows how to handle this and has been trained to do it. But the one that really has surprised us is the number of actual agents, traditional agents that have called us and said, I don't want to deal with my cousins. Like, I'm out. This is a mess. But they know that because of the way we run our business and what a CDRE is, we are really transactional. We're there to represent both of them in a neutral format, but we're not there to build that relationship. You know, as a realtor, everything is relational. So this has been really hard for Lori and I, but the reality is it's what's best. So these agents know that we're not going to try and take that business. And so that was something that really kind of caught us a little bit off guard, was that even a traditional realtor has started trusting us with their business. And now we have also started getting from attorneys like businesses that are dissolving and they have properties. And so they're now because basically it's a divorce of a business. And so that was a little bit surprising too, that we now have those on our dockets. So.
Well, and yeah, a lot of people kind of focus on the marital home, but obviously division of assets, if they have rental properties, second homes, that comes into play. So you're obviously getting involved in those as well.
Exactly. But we do have a lot of people that do reach out to us, even if they haven't seen an attorney yet and they're contemplating a divorce and are wondering what they'll do with their home or what the value of it is. Because usually, typically, it's the largest asset that most people have. And most people are waiting to sell the home to take the proceeds of that sale to start their new life. And so we do have people reach out to us because then they can then take us to their attorney and say, look, we both agree we want to have Porter Hawkins Group written in, because that's what's happening more than not now, is we're getting written into the separation agreement so that when the time comes, and it may be up to a year before the house is put on the market, but when the time comes, there's not an argument about it. It's already written into the separation agreement that we'll be doing the sale.
Gotcha. Are you getting involved at all when they go in wanting to retain the home? And do you still get involved in those situations just to kind of give them other options? Or is it mostly when they initially say, we don't really want to keep the house, we want to sell it, then you get involved?
No, we like being brought in because usually we're doing a CMA at that point because they need a real number. But sometimes, for whatever reason, one of the spouses typically wants to keep the home. It's usually because they want to keep the children settled, there's enough going on in their life, and that's understandable. But that's why we like to partner with a CDLP. Can you afford to keep it not only today, but can you keep it 3 or 4 years from now? What is really in their best interest? So that's why we really like partnering with the CDLP. So we can give them the hard numbers, the real numbers, and then they can make a very good decision for themselves.
Right. And also we can provide them working in real estate. We have a whole arsenal of people that can do repairs on houses. We have a company that we work with that if repairs need to be done and you can't pay till closing, we have so many people that we can refer to our clients that can help them through the process. Even if they want to stay, they still want to purchase a house or buy out a house that's in good condition. And so they may need to negotiate repairs. They may wind up keeping the house, but they need to negotiate repairs, and we can supply them with people like that.
We spoke to some of the key members of the divorce team. Obviously, the CDRE, your role, CDLP, my role. Most everybody understands the attorney plays a factor. What other key components to the divorce team do you see or do you enjoy having as part of the process?
There's so many, and this might be a good place too for us to bring up our involvement and sponsorship of Second Saturday, because the Porter Hawkins Group in the Lake Norman area has started up Second Saturday again. And this is primarily what Second Saturday is. The second Saturday of every month is held at the Lake Norman Chamber of Commerce from 8:30 till around 12:15. And we have a team there, whatever stage you're going through. If you're contemplating it, you're in the middle of it, you're almost at the end of it, it really doesn't matter. You can come. And if you don't have a team when you get there, you'll have a divorce team when you leave, because there is a divorce financial planner there. There is usually a divorce counselor, therapist that is there. There is, of course, a family law attorney. Karyn and I are there. Hopefully we can get a divorce lending professional there. There are a lot of people like divorce coaches that's different from a therapist. There's people that can train you to go into mediation. There are just so many different people. The more Karyn and I have gotten into it, we've realized that divorce has its own community. And there are so many people that specialize in this that if there's a need someone has, there is someone that can help you with that.
And for the people that are listening to this are not in the Charlotte area, there are Second Saturday groups in a lot of the different cities across the country. So definitely check that out to see if it's something that would be applicable to you as well. But certainly in the Charlotte area, there's actually two, but the Lake Norman one is obviously the one that Porter Hawkins is able to help with as well. So that's great. Well, thinking back, any sort of memorable cases that you've worked on that had a big impact on you from the divorce side?
I think every one of them impacts us, because one of the things the Porter Hawkins Group realizes is even though we're neutral and we protect both of them, we still remember that there's usually a family attached to this. And so there is a way to handle it. One of the things that we did in our training was we had an entire process section on how to deal with relations with the children. Lori and I both know agents who, because they want the listing, they will put that sign in the yard and then come to find out no one's told the children, and they're getting off the school bus and now they feel like they lost their family and now they don't have a home. That's a big thing. Whereas Lori and I have had these conversations with families to address. Have you spoken to the children? We don't put a sign out until we speak. We know that conversation has taken place. I don't know, Lori. I just feel like every one of them, we learned something from them. And like she said, we see the best people at the worst time in their life and just trying to help them navigate that. Do you have one, Lori?
Yeah, we could do a whole podcast just on our cases. We see heartbreaking situations. We see people that are so excited to get out of the marriage. We see people that we don't even understand why they're divorcing because they get along so well that we're like, what is the problem here. So we have just seen, the whole gamut of it. But I think I agree with Karyn. That's one thing that I'm proud of, that we do take a stand for the children, because they are already going through so much and their little minds are trying to process all of this. So I'm glad we take a stand and not put a sign out until we know that the children have been informed.
That's perfect. Well, any final thoughts before we leave today on any other advice that you would give to divorcing spouses, or any other things where you could get involved?
Well, a few things that I think a CDRE does that a traditional realtor does not do, besides just being a neutral third party and having systems and procedures in place and doing a fair market value analysis of that, we can help their attorney write up court orders or separation agreements that is most beneficial for them with the market it is at the present time. Something we also can do is we can testify in court. We have been trained to be able to testify in court. We have the reports that we can make that are court worthy to be presented to the judge. So nobody wants or thinks that their divorce will ever end up in court, but sadly it does. And most realtors are not prepared to be able to testify. So that's something that you have in your back pocket in case you would ever have to pull it out. So that's good too.
Perfect. This has been very helpful. I appreciate you both being on here to teach us a lot more about what the CDRE does. If somebody would like to get more information about you and the services that you offer, what's the best way to reach out to you?
info@porterhawkins.com is our email address. You can reach us by phone at 704-727-6768. And yeah, we would love to speak with you and give you any advice. We really, Karyn and I both agreed from day one that we want to be a resource for anybody that's divorcing, for any family law attorney, mediators, collaborative attorneys. We've worked with all of them so far. The family law community has been very gracious and see that we feel a need. So they have kind of embraced us, and we feel good about what we're doing, because sadly divorce is going to happen whether we want it to or not. And we feel like we're providing a service that will take a little bit of stress out of a very stressful situation.
I think that's really the bottom line to all this is you're going to go through this. If you have to go down that path, at least have specialists that are obviously set up to handle the divorce side. You can always get a regular realtor, you can always get a regular lender or regular financial planner, but they're not going to be experts in the field. They're not going to have that different structure in place to help specifically with the divorce cases. So you're not paying extra for any of these services. You might as well get somebody that's actually an expert in the field to help you along the way. So the earlier that we can get involved, both the realtor side, the lender side, financial planner side, the better it is for everybody. And I think ultimately the cheaper it'll be for everybody, because we'll actually get it done the correct way as well. So
completely agree.
Well, any final thoughts from either of you?
We just appreciate you bringing us on. Karyn and I just feel like we have been in education mode, because most people don't know what a certified divorce real estate expert is. And it's exactly like what you said. Now that I am one and I know what I knew as a traditional realtor versus what I know now, I don't want anyone to sell a home that's going through a divorce without Karyn and I, because we can definitely make a difference in the process.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you both taking the time here. It was great talking with you both.
Thank you so much for having us. We appreciate it.